Even if you don't have diabetes, your blood sugar naturally rises after you eat. But a 2022 meta analysis of 7 studies found that one surprisingly simple habit reduced post meal glucose by about 17%. It's not a medication, it doesn't require a workout, and you can start doing it with just a few minutes of light movement. Today, I'm covering that habit, plus 5 specific foods that may help support steadier blood sugar day to day, including one food researchers found works almost as well as medication at slowing sugar absorption, and one healthy breakfast choice that may be spiking your blood sugar more than you'd expect. Let's start with that 17% finding because it changes how you might think about the rest of today's list. A 2022 meta analysis published in Sports Medicine, pooling 7 studies on sitting versus standing or light walking after meals, found that post meal walking reduced peak blood sugar by an average of 17 to 24% compared to sitting. Even a 5-minute walk produced a measurable effect, with the strongest benefit generally seen during the 60 to 90-minute window after eating, when blood sugar is naturally at its highest. This works because muscle activity pulls glucose out of the bloodstream directly, independent of insulin, which is part of why even light movement, not necessarily a brisk walk, makes a measurable difference. Standing rather than sitting after a meal has also been shown to produce a smaller but still measurable benefit, useful on days when a full walk isn't practical. A practical approach, a 10 to 15-minute walk after your largest meal of the day, even something as simple as a walk around the block or a few laps around the house, may offer more benefit than the same amount of walking done at a random time of day. The timing, not just the total activity, appears to matter here specifically. For anyone managing mobility limitations, even standing and doing light movement in the kitchen while cleaning up after a meal has shown a measurable, if smaller, benefit in this same research. Eating vegetables, particularly leafy greens, before the higher carbohydrate parts of a meal has been studied for its effect on slowing the rate at which sugar enters the bloodstream. The fiber in leafy greens forms a kind of physical barrier in the digestive process, which may slow carbohydrate absorption from the rest of the meal eaten afterward. This is sometimes called food order or meal sequencing, and some research suggests it may meaningfully reduce the blood sugar spike from the same meal simply by changing what's eaten first rather than changing what's on the plate at all. A practical approach, if a meal includes a salad or cooked greens alongside starchier foods like rice, bread, or pasta, eating the greens first, even by just a few minutes, is a low-effort way to apply this research without changing your actual meal composition. Beans and lentils digest more slowly than refined carbohydrates like white rice or white bread, largely due to their fiber and resistant starch content, both of which slow the rate of sugar absorption into the bloodstream. Some research has found that replacing a portion of refined carbohydrates with beans or lentils in a meal measurably reduces the blood sugar response compared to the same meal without this substitution. This doesn't require eliminating rice or bread, it means partially replacing them. A meal that's half rice and half lentils, for example, tends to produce a smaller blood sugar spike than a meal that's all rice while still feeling like a familiar, satisfying dish. Canned beans and lentils, which we've covered in an earlier video as a budget-friendly protein option, work just as well for this purpose as dried versions cooked from scratch, making this an accessible change regardless of cooking time available. A small handful of nuts, such as almonds or walnuts, has been studied for its effect on blunting the blood sugar response of a meal eaten shortly afterward, likely due to their combination of healthy fats, fiber, and protein, all of which slow digestion compared to a carbohydrate-only snack. This makes nuts a reasonable substitution for more refined carbohydrate snacks like crackers or pretzels, particularly earlier in the day or shortly before a meal, when their slowing effect on the following meal's blood sugar response may be most relevant. Because nuts are calorie dense, a small handful, roughly an ounce, is a reasonable serving size. This isn't about eating unlimited nuts, but about a thoughtful substitution for snacks that would otherwise contribute to a larger blood sugar spike. This last one is about a common assumption worth reconsidering. Many popular breakfast choices marketed as healthy, large bowls of certain granolas, some fruit juices, and low-fat flavored yogurts with added sugar can produce a larger blood sugar spike than people expect, since they're often higher in refined sugar and lower in the fiber, protein, or fat that would otherwise slow that response. This doesn't mean these foods need to be eliminated, but rather understood more accurately. Checking labels for added sugar content and pairing these foods with a protein source, such as adding nuts or plain Greek yogurt to a small bowl of granola rather than eating a large bowl on its own, is a practical way to reduce the blood sugar impact without giving up foods you enjoy. Combining this with the food order approach from earlier, eating a protein source before or alongside the sweeter component of breakfast applies the same principle covered earlier in today's video to the specific context of breakfast. So to recap, a short walk after meals, eating leafy greens before the rest of your meal, replacing some refined carbohydrates with beans or lentils, choosing nuts over refined carbohydrate snacks, and being mindful of healthy sounding breakfast choices are 5 approaches that may help support steadier blood sugar day to day. The walking habit from earlier is worth repeating because it's genuinely one of the more surprising and accessible findings in this research. A habit that costs nothing and takes 10 minutes may meaningfully change how your body responds to the meal you just ate. If you're currently managing diabetes or taking blood sugar medication, these approaches are meant to complement your treatment plan, not replace it. Please discuss any changes with your doctor first, since medication needs can shift as other habits change. As always, check with your doctor before making changes to your diet or routine. If this was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you're going to try the after meal walk.